Hi, good day all, and namaskar. In our part 1 video, we have seen ISO 27001 2022, the high level changes in clauses, right? Clauses, different clauses, and what are the new controls are being introduced in 2022. And the earlier version was 2013, right? So 2013, and the new version is 2022, and then this version we have total 93 controls, right? And 11 new controls are being introduced. So today we will touch upon those 11 new controls, how organization can take care those controls at high level, right? My name is Mukul Gupta, and let's see how we can, what these different 11 new controls are all about, and then how to address those. One point, I think, in my previous presentation I told that I will be making part 2, but I think and the part 1 was very long, so I will see if I will see that, you know if I can complete, this part 2 I can split into 2 to 3 parts, right, to make it more um, presentable in time manner. Okay, so let's get it started. So let's move to the next slide. So this slide is basically uh, explain what are the next steps for the organization, and I've jot down, this all the basic steps, right, which organization has to take. And if you ask me, I think uh, these are the high level steps, right? And I always say that, it may differ, right, as per the organization context and maturity. Okay, so as mentioned, it depends on the organization context, right? But what are the high level, steps which organization can take? So, understand the changes and impact in the organization context, right? So every organization has to see that what are those controls, and then understand that what are the basic changes in this 2022, right? Standard which is being released on 25th October. Uh, and the most important point, right, this is as per the organization context, right? And we have to see that what it has impact, right, and how to address those controls, new requirements, right, as per the organization context. And then it is very important, right, everybody would agree that training employee on this new controls and the changes, right, um, uh, in the context of the organization, right, every person who is responsible for particular area in general, or if for particular area of implementing controls, right, so they have to have train, and they should understand, and they should be aware that what are those changes, right? And then I think organization, as per the general practice, we can do risk assessment, right, based on the new requirement and new controls. And also it is very important that, as I explained in the previous slide, previous video, that some of the controls are being merged, right, one controls has been splitted, right? So also those factor, we have to see that, like, new controls, right, um, merge control, right, and I think the splitted one is control has been splitted, right? So this all changes in controls, right, we have to see, and then we have to do risk assessment based on the organization context. And then the next step is identify gaps, and then do risk treatment plan, right? So how to address those risks, right? And then based on the risk treatment, right, what actions, what solution, what treatment we are going to do, then we have to see the budget approval, right? and it depends organization to organization. It is the most I think I feel most critical and important part because you have to convince management, and you have to give them understanding why this budget is needed, right? If it is something heavy on cost, right? So I think you have to have make business case, and then make a business case that how it's going to help into the business, right? And then once you have budget approval, make a plan, right? If it is something big organization, right? So you have to have plan, because it is not a one day show, right? You have to make a plan, and then you have to implement in a planned way, and depend organization size, the manpower, and the complexity. And then once you have some implementation in place, you can do internal audit that how the things are going as per the uh, processes laid down by you or policies, right? And then you can see that the what are the gaps, right? So I would say gaps or non-conformity, right? Whatever you say, and then you can have the corrective action plan for those gaps, right? And once you have this all the things all together, right, everything, and then you can address those into this management review meetings. And so in management review meeting, you can give high level this status of your this ISO, but this 27001 2022, right? The you are considering this transition as a project, right? So what is the status, right? What are the challenges you are getting, right? And what are the supports from management is needed. And you can give this high level status, right, of the overall project, right, of transition from 2013 to 2017 in 2022, sorry, in your initial meetings, management review, right? And once you have this management review meeting, and then the key output is the action plan, right? What are the action plan um, for the different stakeholder, different people, those who are responsible for those actions, and then regular review and monitoring. And then you can have final gap assessment if needed, based on the organization size, context, and complexity. And then you can go for the final audit with the your approved, or your certification body. Okay. So so to be honest with you, guys, these steps are not in order, but I think it can change as per the organization. But I think these are the major steps which organization can take. Okay. So next, move to the next slide. Hello. Okay, guys. So this is I've just prepared one mind map, right? And I have just mentioned this new control, and this is for high level understanding, right? That we have already seen that there are 11 new controls being introduced, right, in this new standard, revised standard. Organization controls in category, the new controls which are being introduced are three, and in physical, one control one control has been introduced, and in technology, the total 7 controls have been introduced, right? Uh, okay, I think I can see this number, right? I think it's 3, or but I think I will make a correction in the description, right? If it's something. Okay, so so as mentioned, right? So what this mind map is all about, right? Uh, if you see this this color, right? This red color is talking about the organization level, this organization level controls. And if you talk about this blue one, right, this sky blue one, this is talk about technological. And this physical, right? This color, right? This is talking about the physical control, right? Okay. So now what organization can do, right? As we have seen in the previous slide, that what it is, right? And then what are the organization level impact, right? And then you can do the technology assessment. So when I say technology assessment, you can see if there is something need to be implemented at technology level to address those controls, or it is something which is needed in system, right? How to address those control. And then it is very important that people are trained and awareness plan in place for these new controls. And I think many of the organizations, those who are not having this understanding of this different controls complexity and this understanding at at uh, this at their day-to-day working, I think it's very important for them to train their people on this aspect and the new control. And then we have to see that which control in documentation is mandatory or not, right? So in our next slide we'll see what documentation is mandatory as per ISO 27001. But I think at high level, if you see only this configuration management, right? This 8.9. In this, it is mandatory to have this documented procedure, right? Rest of the controls, they don't say, explicitly say in a standard that there is need of documented procedure. But I think if you are doing it first time, or if you are doing it in regular way, I think it's good to have the procedure in place, right? But that is not mandatory as per the standard. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. So okay guys, so what is our first control, right, which we are going to talk about, right? And I think the first control which we are going to talk about is the APE 5.7 threat intelligence, right? And this is a new control which is being introduced in this standard, and it is very important to understand this control, right? And so that every organization can take appropriate action to implement this control, right? So as in my previous slide, I have explained that there is no documentation required as per ISO 27000 for this control. But I think it is suggested, right? You may include rule about threat intelligence in the following documents, right? Where supplier security policy, incident management procedures, right? Security operation procedures, right? You can have rules and can address this this particular control, that is threat intelligence, right? And for example, right, in supplier security policy, what you can do, right, define how the information about threats is communicated between the company and its supplier and the partner, right? So that is being taken care properly, right, in supply chain, right? So if you see, one of the most critical area for the organization to take care this kind of risk is into supply chain, right? So you can address that in your supplier security policy, right? And then incident management procedure, right? For example, define how the information about the threat is communicated internally in the company, right? This is also important, where you can mention, right, in your incident current, whatever the incident management procedure you have, you can just address this particular point, right? And it is very important, you update your procedure, right? Your operation procedure, right? How the different threats, right, are threat information at organization level, at org level, collected and processed. Okay, so this is very important, right? So you can make this some documented changes, and also you can see, if you want to see, you can just see as per the organization and as per the need, the different processes need to be updated, or you can have separate procedure. There is no harm into this if you want to have separate dedicated process, but you can see as per your complexity and organization context, right? So now let's understand what this threat intelligence is all about, right? Why it is being introduced. I think it's a very good move in the standard. I think very important, right, for the organization. Now the keeping in mind that the way we are making our processes more digital, right, and the presence is on internet, right. Every organization, either at personal level or professional level, right? Okay, so it is very important that organization understand that what are the different threats, right, are there in the market, right, which is pertaining to the organization this organization context, right. It is very important, keep in mind, right. So for example, if you are into the financial industry, right, so you have to see that what are the new threats are there, right, which are there, right, in the uh, out there, right, outside your organization, which you have to have keep eye, right, and address those risks as a preventive measures in your day-to-day operations, right, in your procedures, policies, right. So your organization is well prepared, right. So if you are into health organization, right, what are the different threats, right, pertaining to the health organization, right, and which need to be, which need your you know active eye, right, so that you can prepare your organization, right, timely manner, right. This is very important, right, timely manner. Okay, so this control is very important, right, and then as I mentioned, right, how you control, how you gather information about different threats, right, and then analyze those threats for appropriate mitigation action, right. And this information could be about particular attack, about method and technology the attackers are using, and about attack trains, right. You should gather this information internally, right, as well as from external sources, right, like vendor reports, government agencies, and announcement, right, and pertaining to your organization context, right. And now coming to this how this technological need, right, pertaining to this control. I think if you see this, we can say a smaller company, and this big company, for sake, right, for understanding purpose, how we can just this two type of organization cater this at the technological front, right. So in smaller companies probably do not need any new technology related to this control. Rather, they will have to figure out how to extract the threat information from their existing system, right. If they do not have one already, so it is very important for the organization, right. For example, you have some control in place, right, and you have some physical control or some logical control. So when I say logical, you have some firewall, for example, right, and some physical control, right, right, physical control. So when I say physical control, you can have biometric machine, okay, and guards in place, right. So you may have some logs in physical, some logs in logical way, where some threads are being introduced. Threads are being introduced means logged, right, as just to understand, logged, right. And some reports are can you can say that okay, these are can. But how you can identify those threat once you collect these logs, right? Once you collect these logs from your different devices, right, and your manual recording, and analyze those logs, then you can say, okay, this is something red alert, right? Some logs are not good, right? Some logs are showing that some threats vectors are doing something you don't know, right? So you just understand what the different threat, right, based on the logs, and then the next course of action you can decide, right? So now big companies, like larger companies, we need to acquire a system that will alert them to new threats, right, as well as the vulnerabilities and incident. Companies of any size will have to use threat information to harden their system, right? I think it is very important to understand, right? Either it is a small company, right, or I say, let's suppose we add one more, mid-size, right, and large company, right? Based on the context, right, complexity, right, and the type of business you are into, right, you have to have gather the different threats. So once I say threats from your internal devices, okay, internal, let me make it clear, right? It's very important to understand. So organization, right, you have to collect threat from your internal sources. So when I say internal sources, that could be your devices, your central log monitoring system, SIM, right, for example, your manual records, okay, and also the external, right? So when I say external, externals are from your supplier reports, right? For example, the different this sites, right, like MIT Mitre, right, or MIT RE, right, and the different other sources, right, which you can subscribe, or just can regular monitor, and then you can just subscribe to their this news, right, where they publish the daily threats, right, and the daily issues with respect to the different industry. And then once you have this threat collections, right, at internal and external level, then you have to do analyze, okay. Once you do analyze, you see that, okay, it is the impact on my, why it is very important to analyze, right? All these threats may not impact, right, it may not severe to your organization, it is not having high impact, so it is not important to put your efforts, money into those threats. But after an analysis, you can say, okay, uh, you can see that, okay, this risk is not important for my organization, right, okay. So once you do an impact analysis, then you can do mitigation and action plan, right, mitigation action plan, and then implement. So you are better ready for those threats which are going to impact your organization, okay. Now I think at process level, I think, as we already discussed, right, you should set processes for how to gather and use the threat information to introduce preventive control in your IT system, to improve your risk assessment, and to introduce new method for security testing, right. So once you know how you will do this, as a layman, as a person, new person, how he will do it, right. So you have to have some process in place where you will just jot down the steps, right, or the threat sources, who will do what, right. It is something manual, automated way, and then at what frequency you collect the data, right, and if something criteria need to be decided, if something the impact is high, you will do some meeting, stakeholder meeting, and then if it is something very high risk, you do some immediate action, right? So process need to be defined, so it will help your risk assessment, right, for this new threats. And once you have risk assessment, you will have a better preventive plan. Okay. And now once you have process, right, you have technology as a discussion, you understand what it's all about, right? This element, right, is very important, training, right? Okay. And I think you will be agree that if people are not trained, I think this all things are wasted. It's not going to help you anyway, right? So this is the most important element where you have to have make a culture, right, culture shift, where people learn and train on this new controls. Okay. So I have given this little bit in more detail because I think in next controls, I think some of the things that are going to be repetitive, right, like training and all. So we'll not give much focus on those slide, but I think this slide we have covered in detail the generic point which are going to be in the next slide. Okay. So now I am just stopping this part 2. I think we can say this is part 2.1. After our part 1, I will make another one video where I will discuss the rest 10 controls, and then I will let do that, right? And thank you very much, guys, for just giving your time and just going through this video. I think it will help you, and I'm sure, I think I've tried my best, but if there are some mistakes, I will definitely improve on that part, right? Thank you very much, and I will upload the part 2.2 for the rest of the controls. Thank you very much.